In my welcome videos, what already feels like a long time ago, I shared with you my work in Lebanon with Al-Fanar, which means lighthouse in Arabic. And this is a venture philanthropy organization I helped found to support social enterprises serving marginalized populations. And I mentioned a woman named Mariam that I had the opportunity to support. And she is a social entrepreneur who was born and raised in a refugee camp in Lebanon. She's a generational refugee. And in working with Mariam, I realized that my job was to support and amplify the ideas that she was already catalyzing in her community. She had the idea that she wanted to create production centers. So Mariam was leading a community-based organization called the Women's Program Association that you're going to hear more about in a couple of modules. And she was providing awareness and skill-building activities and those sorts of traditional activities in the refugee camp for women. And she was really frustrated because she felt that this wasn't changing anything. The participants would come, get knowledge and skills, go home, and nothing would change. And so she approached Al-Fanar. We found each other, and she said that she wanted to create production units. She wanted to create something where the women could actually produce some product or service that had social and economic value. And she went about surveying the women and asking them what would they like to work with. And by talking to these participants and surveying them, she found out that they would like to start some kind of food company, because food is something that is socially and culturally accepted in their community. It's something they already work with. They enjoy it. They want to get better. And in the larger geopolitical situation in Lebanon, it's something that, regardless of the economy and the political situation, people need to eat. So low-cost food industries are more likely to work. And that's how she got this idea for a social enterprise that we ended up calling Sufra. Sufra means like a table laden with food. And so Mariam approached Al-Fanar to help her seed this company for Sufra. Now, if you were going to a refugee camp to help support refugee women, you might not come up with this idea. You might come up with something more traditional, like awareness building and skills building or something like that, or you might come up with a totally different idea. And the point here is that what I learned from this experience was not to go into a situation and say, I'm here to save the day, I have ideas, I've done my research, let's come up with this project. The point is to get to know the lived experience leaders, get to know who the community already trusts, who's already trying to come up with solutions, and then your job can be to help mobilize resources for those solutions and amplify those solutions. And so together we collaborated and innovated and came up with a lot of ideas, one of which is a food truck that you'll hear about when we talk about Sufra next. But I learned a lot from supporting Mariam because I realized that my role in social entrepreneurship, and I think everyone's role really, is to first start by identifying lived experience leaders, people who are actually facing the challenges that you're trying to tackle. I have a colleague who started a movement about this in the UK called the Lived Experience Movement. Her name is Baljeet Sandhu, and she's another lived experience leader who came from an immigrant family to the UK and who became a lawyer and started working on the rights of immigrant children. And her name is Baljeet Sandhu. So she started a Center for Knowledge Equity in the UK that I'd like you to learn more about. And it's based in Oxford University in collaboration with the School Center for Social Entrepreneurship. And her point is to amplify lived experience leaders like Mariam, to educate other social innovators and investors and funders about supporting lived experience leaders. And what she means by knowledge equity is that there should be value in different kinds of knowledge. So your learned experience, if you're in a university, your professional experience, if you're in a job, your lived experience, regardless of what your life path is, these are different kinds of knowledge, and they all carry weight, and they all carry value, and we need them all. And so Baljeet's point with the Center for Knowledge Equity is that, if you're tackling homelessness, for example, You hire someone with lived experience in homelessness to help figure out what the programming should be and where the funding should be allocated. You work with lived experience leaders and you recognize the different kinds of knowledge and you bring them together. That really is what this module is all about. That's why we want to talk to people, to find existing entrepreneurs, to find community leaders, to figure out how people are interacting with an existing challenge and how they might interact with potential solutions. And so I share stories of Mariam, of Baljeet, and others just to emphasize the point that when you're working with others, you want to center change initiatives on lived experience and knowledge equity. And think of yourself as a resource to help support and amplify lived experience leaders, which might be you, and it might be others. And bring together the different forms of knowledge and catalyze knowledge exchange. And that's why once we've done our desk research, we get out there and talk to people. So in the last video, we talked about the different people you need to be talking with. Start with those with lived experience and find lived experience leaders. In the next video, we'll talk about how to approach people you don't know and ask to speak with them. And hint, it's not as hard and scary as you think.